Another day, another very big SUV. If you want to carry your family in comfort and the luggage, well, there are a lot of SUVs. It's a very busy market, and this is another offering which you can consider. It's luxurious, it's big, and it has a lot of power. Welcome, everybody, to the Grand Wagoneer L. When you come to the front of the Grand Wagoneer L, well, it's a very familiar Jeep look. In fact, the same look you'll find in the normal Wagoneer and the regular Grand Wagoneer as well. The extension is only from the C pillar onwards. So from the front, it looks practically the same. It's got the same 7 slats Jeep grille, which is iconic. But again, they have no Jeep branding at all. In fact, the only place you'll find the Jeep branding is in one of the head LED units in the headlight. Otherwise, it's all Wagoneer or Grand Wagoneer. They're really focusing on staying away from the Jeep name. It's like positioning into a very luxury brand of its own. Otherwise, it's got lots of chrome. It stands out on the road because you don't see too many on the road. It still is very popular and people like to give it a second look. I've gotten a lot of second looks on this car which I didn't expect. But yeah, the chrome is on the grille. It is smoothly integrated into the headlight. You have lots of chrome on the bottom bumper as well. And I like this paint as well. I'd like to call it out. It's, I think, a $500 or $700 option, but it looks really good. Looks black most of the times, but when the sun hits it just right, it is that perfect shade of maroon which I really like. When you come onto the side is when you realize that this is, wait for it, the second longest SUV in the world. The first is the Escalade ESV, we've driven that, and the third longest is the Defender 130, which we've also driven. So now I've done the top 3, which I personally really enjoy. It's a small bucket list which I've completed. But this is the second longest SUV in the world, and you can see the rear length, the L part in the Grand Wagoneer after the C pillar. The chrome carries on. There's lots of chrome on the window panes, and you've got some chrome on the mirrors as well. The side steps are also in the chrome, which automatically open when you want to get in the car or when you get to the proximity of the car. You've got Grand Wagoneer written on both sides of the door, and it has a very orange copper surround which is unique to the Grand Wagoneer L, which I think is small touches like this really help distinguish it from the other Wagoneers on the road. You've got these beautiful 22-inch wheels which are an option, but I feel like maybe a size bigger would have worked because the side profile is so bulky that these 22-inch wheels also look a bit on the smaller side. Otherwise, it's got this very boxy theme which is reminiscent of the previous Wagoneer that they had in the 70s and the 80s. But yeah, it's a very modern touch to a retro theme which kind of works. I'm not too fan of the rear C-pillar window because it's a bit too boxy, but otherwise it still stands on the road and the presence is so good. Come to the rear of the Grand Wagoneer L, and the boxy theme is carried on to the rear as well. So two things are carried on, the boxy theme and the chrome. So there's oodles of chrome in the rear. So you have the outline of the rear windshield, you have on the bumper, you have around the tail lights around as well, which is just very unique to this vehicle. And I think it adds a lot of presence because I'm not a big fan of chrome, but I think the chrome works here because it brings out a very unique identity on the road. You still have the big Grand Wagoneer branding on the tailgate, and you can see the copper accents which is exclusive to this Grand Wagoneer L. There are some badges which have the Quadra drive, which is the all-wheel drive system. You have the Series 3 and L. So Series 3 is the variant, and L because this is the long wheelbase one. Otherwise, it's a very clean looking, and the taillights also look good. They have the matrix design, so it's applicable to the headlight as well. And overall, it's very good. And since this is the L, once you do open the boot, you get an access to a very big boot. In fact, this is the boot space with all 3 rows up. And honestly, I'm barely touching the potential this boot has. In fact, I might as well just sit in it and there will still be space to put in some luggage. That's how big the whole cargo space is in here with even the 3rd row up. I cannot imagine this with the 3rd row down. Perhaps you can move houses and still have space to put in passengers in the middle row. That's the whole purpose of these long wheelbase SUVs, right? I find it really cool. I'm now inside the Grand Wagoneer L, and honestly, first things up, it actually is a good place to be. You've got a lot of leather aluminium, orange stitching, and this whole tan interior, I'm a very big fan of. I am a sucker for tan interiors, and the moment I sat in this, I fell in love. The seat stitching, the pattern is so beautiful, and the seats themselves are also very comfortable. You have the seat adjustment on the door, which is how it is on the Mercedes cars as well. You have a lot of such adjustments, so you can actually move the headrest front and back as well, which I have not seen in a lot of cars. The steering is a two-spoke steering, which is very nostalgic of how it used to be in older cars, and you can actually drive the old way, but I don't recommend that. Please hold the steering the way it should. You have a host of buttons on the steering wheel for toggling through the digital screen, the adaptive cruise control, and stuff like that. It's got the same aluminum treatment, and you do have the Grand Wagoneer badging, no Jeep badging inside as well. You do have the big screen and the digital screen. They both work in tandem, which is very similar to the Grand Cherokee as well. And there's a party trick as well. There's a third screen for the passenger in here, which is not visible from the driver angle, which is how it should be because it's not a distraction, but it's very clearly visible from the passenger seat if you look head up. They can watch their own movies, they can pair their own Bluetooth headsets, so it's not distracting to any other passenger in the car, which is pretty cool. You do have physical buttons for the AC controls, and the heated seats are haptic touch built in. They are sort of physical where you don't have to play with the screen, but there's still a haptic touch, which is a hit or miss. Sometimes it works really well. One party trick though is that now you see this as an open space, so you can put your wireless charger. You have a host of USB ports. You have like, wait, three USB-Cs, three USB-As, one HDMI, and an aux port, and you have another 12-volt charger as well, which is immense. But if I press this, and then this pops out, and then you have a fourth screen, one, two, three, four. And this fourth screen is, you can control the temperatures from here as well. You can use it to control the massage, what kind of massage you want, the intensity of the massage. And I have to say, this is one of the better massage systems I felt in any car. You can really feel it in your back and the upper back and the lower back. It's actually really cool. It's going to be difficult to get used to this and go into another car which doesn't have as strong of a massage system. You do have a lot of gloss black here, so you have the big rotary knob to select the gears. You have a lever here to select the air suspension height, and this is for the drive modes, which is like the 4x4, so rock, sand, mud, snow, auto, and sport. You do have a button that says four-wheel drive low, I guess when you really take it to the rough stuff, because after all, it is a Jeep, right? It does have some off-roading credentials as well. But yeah, otherwise it's a lovely place to be. It's got a lot of tech. It just feels very nice, very premium. And you do have this Grand Wagoneer badging on the dash as well. They really try to create their own space inside here with no mention of Jeep. They just want to make it a luxury space. One thing I will also point out is this sound system. It's this Macintosh system which actually sounds really well, and at higher volumes also it does not crack with the bass or treble, so that's a bonus as well. Otherwise, what can I say? It's actually really cool. You have a fridge in here which is really cool. You have some cup holders and some places to keep your key as well, which is again very thoughtful, very practical. Can't really fault this interior on design or practicality. It just feels very good inside. Now in the middle row of the Grand Wagoneer L, and it's a lovely place to be. These captain seats are amazing. They're supremely comfortable, and you have great under thigh support, great headrest, great backrest. The only downside, it's manually adjusted, not electrically. I think at this price point you would expect electrical controls. You have a big screen here to control the cooled seats, heated seats, and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. The resolution is also very good. You do have individual screens for each seat as well, so you can watch your own content with Fire TV, and you can actually connect it to the hotspot, either the car's hotspot or your own phone's hotspot as well, to stream stuff from Amazon Prime and stuff like that, which is very cool for road trips. You can connect 3.5 your headsets, or you can even connect HDMI with a proper socket, so you can perhaps connect a gaming console. But I'm thinking the refresh rate won't be as good, so it would be laggy. So you'll have to plan that out. You've got some AC vents here. You have some AC vents here, which is really cool as well. And you also have manual sun blinds, which is again a very good bonus for the middle row. Overall, it just feels very good, and even this Alcantara roof liner feels very good. It's a panoramic sun glass. The windows are very big as well, so it's very airy, very spacious. You don't feel claustrophobic at all, and in fact, this is one of the places you wouldn't mind sitting for a very long time. Even the third row, it's extremely spacious. I did sit in it briefly, and it's very spacious. I can fit in it very comfortably, even for longer journeys, which is always a big bonus. And I think this is where the L part really helps, because there's space for the third row and you have space in the boot as well. You do have a big storage here as well, which is immensely deep. In fact, you have to really be careful. You might lose things in it. That's how big it is. But yeah, overall, it's very practical, very nice, very spacious, very airy, and It's one of the better middle rows I've seen in recent times. Now behind the wheel of the Grand Wagoneer L. So let's get the numbers out of the way. This has a 3-liter twin turbo inline 6, produces 510 horsepower. It's called the Hurricane engine, which is, fun fact, now coming in the next gen Dodge Charger and Challenger. This used to have a Hemi V8, but for 2024 they have cancelled it and they have switched to the inline 6 for emissions like everybody else has done. This does weigh a lot though, 2.8 tons, close to 2.9 tons, which is, I think, the heaviest SUV I've ever driven. But let's see how this drives. So slot the rotary dial into drive and we set off, and you'll instantly notice that the low end torque is actually really good. You can get off, and I'm on some very bumpy terrain, and the ride quality is pretty decent. It does get a bit floaty and you do get pitches and bouncing. It does roll a bit on the bumps, but otherwise it actually handles the bad stuff not that badly. Now I'm on smooth tarmac and it's actually impeccable. Like with these 22-inch wheels as well, it just is so comfortable. The air suspension takes everything in its stride, and the air suspension actually keeps on leveling itself. So the higher speeds you go at, it thinks that it's not aerodynamic enough, so then it lowers itself down to cut through the air much more efficiently. But now that I'm on tarmac, I might want to launch it a bit just to show you the acceleration. So if I come to a complete stop and I put into sport mode, left foot on the brake, doesn't have a launch control, but it holds boost and it sets off. Wow. And it picks up speed really well. Like this thing, this heavy, should not move this quick, but it does. It actually hauls, and the engine is really not an issue. Like you would really not miss the Hemi V8, because this has more power than the Hemi V8 ever did. So they've done a good job of masking the inline 6 sound wise, performance wise. It's really good. You would really not miss the V8 at all. And being an inline 6, it's much more efficient than the V8 as well. So in city, like slow stop start traffic, I've been getting 18.5 liters per 100. On the highways I'm getting 15.5, which is, I think, slightly higher than what it has been claimed, but it's not too bad. I mean, I think the Escalade gives about 12.5 liters, which is lower than this, even though it has a bigger engine. But the torque and everything, when you are driving kick down, overtaking is really not an issue at all. There's enough torque. The gearbox works well in kick down, so you're always in the right torque spread and you can overtake cars very easily, even with fully loaded. So even if you're fully loaded with like people and everything, it just it's very comfortable. It's very easy to drive. One thing though, other cars like the Escalade, they're big, they shrink around you. Even the BMW XM, which I drove recently, this does not. Every time you drive it, you do get hints that it is a very big, long vehicle. Times when you're driving in tight spaces in downtown and when you're braking hard, the whole mass shifts forward, and I wish the braking could have been better. The pedal feel is okay, but the brakes themselves feel like they don't have enough bite. Maybe bigger brakes or just much more powerful brakes would have done the trick. Otherwise, barring the brakes and minor glitches here and there, it's actually not that bad. It's actually really comfortable. Seats are good, so you can have the massage seats on and just cruise all day, all night with this car. It's actually really easy, and I'm actually a bit surprised on how good it is to drive and live with on a daily basis. In conclusion then, the Grand Wagoneer L. Well, this car goes up against some really formidable rivals like the Escalade, the GMC Yukon and its likes. This car does have some USP. It does stand on the road. I think the looks, it's hit or miss. Either you like it or you don't. I do like the front a lot, and it does have a very imposing stance. The interior is very nice. I like the whole layout. I love the specs, especially in this. I love tan interiors, so I particularly have a soft spot. I really enjoyed it. The tech is really cool. All the screens, all the gadgetry, it's super cool. There's tons of space for your family and the luggage at the same time as well, which is always a bonus of these super long wheelbase SUVs. The engine is really good. I really like the power, the 510 horsepower. It pulls this beast from standstill, or any speed overtaking is not an issue at all. But there are some downsides. Well, the suspension is a bit too soft and it does pitch and roll more than its rivals. Something like the Escalade rides better and handles better. Again, these SUVs are not for handling, but on a day-to-day basis, you do feel the difference. And all the tech inside, you're not sure if it's going to last that long. In fact, this car has done only 12,500 kilometers, and there are some gremlins here and there, which is definitely not confidence inspiring. If you're in the market to buy this SUV, you will have to shell out $140,000 Canadian with all the options ticked, which this car is. And that's cheaper than the Escalade ESV by about 10 or 12,000, which is a significant amount of money. Now it's up to you if you want to save that 10, 12,000 or you want to spend it extra and get the much more well established rivals.